Yeah, it made me log in. All right, we did it, guys. We're here. Okay, so check it out. Howdy, welcome everybody. So glad to see you all. Welcome to the first meeting of 2023, fall 2023. I hope you all can see. This is the microphone. So when we talk, I'm going to toss the microphone to you. It's an earbud. You don't have to put it in your ear. But Srijani and Nikita, can you hear okay still?
Yes.
All right, good. No, I didn't share the screen, did I? Hang on. I want to do this because I am recording because not everybody could make it, obviously. All right. Well, now we can finally start exactly on time, 4 minutes late. So thanks, everybody. Welcome. I'm really excited. I'm sincerely excited for the start of this year. As stressful as it always is, I feel like we got the most exciting stuff in several years going on right now. And so I'm really psyched. I'm really excited to work with all of you. We had a great summer, really productive on several fronts, and we'll keep going right into the school year here. So welcome. And what I'm hoping is today, and as often as I can, I want these all lab meetings to go boom, boom, boom fast because we could be here forever and it's Friday. Hi, Adelaide. Nice to see you. So we will, I'll keep things moving, but what I'm hoping is this is an introduction for a lot of you who haven't been here before or haven't heard about all of the stuff going on. I know several of you will learn new things today about people that you already met and knew, but wow, you're working on that. So the idea is introduce, and then I've asked the project leads when they're going to talk about their work, especially to highlight anything that might need, hey, I could use some additional assistance on this, or there's room for, more people to help out on this. So it's a good way to kind of get plugged in. Okay, all right, here we go. So first thing we're going to do, this is going to be fast. I want you all to introduce yourselves, please. We're going to go this way, and we'll just kind of, try to spend, maybe half a minute at most in introducing yourself. So I am Tom Ferris. My degrees are in industrial and operations engineering. I started here at A&M in 2011, and I came from Michigan, but my home where my parents live and where I went to high school is Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska. So I'm a Midwesterner transplanted to Texas. I'm involved in a few of the projects, but you'll hear about them. And one interesting thing I did this past summer, we went, my wife's parents live in Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin. And so in going to visit them and then also doing a few meetings, we drove from College Station to Madison in 1 day straight. And guess how much driving I did on that trip? 0. So my wife, the superhero, drove for about 20 hours while I worked in the car, as awesome as that is. So that was my summer. Thank you. I'll pass it here.
I know that. How much you drove.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Adelaide Dana. I am a junior industrial and systems engineer. I am originally from Wilmington, Delaware, but I've lived in the Woodlands, Texas for about 10 years now. So like 50-50, Delaware and Texas. I'm on the Sophie project, which I'm sure we'll talk very much more about later. And this summer, I actually interned with Collins Aerospace and Raytheon working on the same project.
Howdy, I'm Liliana Hildbrand. I'm a senior industrial engineering student here, Texas A&M. I'm involved in Sophie, 2 odds and ends there. It's fun. One interesting thing I did this past summer, I was a human factors intern at Boeing, which was awesome.
Let me just say something really fast. Sorry. You can never just let things go fast.
You want the microphone?
No, yeah, I guess I do. Sorry. We had a faculty retreat a few weeks ago. All the industrial and systems engineers sit down and look at each other and say, what are we doing well? What could we do better? And I was very proud of our team and in particular the Sophie group because of several examples that have bucked my usual answer to the question of how do I get a job as a human factors engineer? I almost always say you need to have an advanced degree. And I think that's still mostly the case, but several people, Liliana included, have done some really awesome undergraduate, accomplishments in the world of human factors, and we're getting job attention, we're getting job offers. Harrison, who many of you know, is also now working as a human factors engineer. So it's an exciting time. I brought that up during the retreat because it is a trend I'm seeing now in our group. I think it's a testament to the strength of our program. So thank you. Yeah, right. Yes.
Howdy, my name's Caden George. I'm a ISIN senior. This is going to be my first time doing research. I'm in the engineering honors program. I'm from Euless, Texas, which is in the middle of DFW. I'm going to be working primarily with Morgan with his VR project. And then over the summer, I was an industrial and systems engineer intern at Lockheed. I got to work on a lot of projects there.
Yeah, howdy. Myself, Bhargav. I'm from Engineering Technology and Industrial Distribution Department. I'm from southern part of India. Previously, I involved in the projects for Defense and Research and Development Organization of India, where we design unmanned radio vehicles and control systems. Along with that, I had experience of working with Professor Gadgil from University of California, Berkeley. The interesting thing in this summer is the project I worked there was completed and going out ceremony was done, and I had an opportunity to deal with many of the scientists from high grade to low grade in one session, and it's very interesting to me and hard to me.
Thank you.
So howdy, this is Sai Manohar, and I am currently pursuing my master's in industrial engineering, and I am from southern part of India. And the project is during the summer I was involved with the Mera Servers Private Limited, which designed which is a railway coach factory, which took up the prestigious product of building trains, the Vande Bharat trains for India. So I had a pretty exciting time during my summer by working on this project.
Thank you.
Don't know where to speak into it. I don't think I have to.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Morgan Cinco. I am this is technically the second school year, but really first year PhD student in industrial engineering, human factors. I am from Boston, but I spent a lot of my life growing up in San Antonio. I am involved in the cyber sickness virtual reality project. Also involved in the cobot study and the radar rubber hand. Right, no, it's just rubber hand research project as well. Interesting thing I did over the summer is I work full time and I'm a full time PhD student. So for work they had me fly to Vietnam relatively last minute after a number of delays. And my visa wasn't in yet, so I had to fly to Japan. And I spent 3 days in Japan, and then I flew from Japan to Vietnam and spent 4 days in Vietnam. And so that was my weird excursion of the summer.
Hello. Name Anderson. Major and year. 4th year ISIN PhD. 4th or 3rd? 4th. From East Coast, like 45 minutes away from Wilmington, Delaware. Project Cobot radar. Yeah. Yeah. Project Cobot radar and a rubber hand. One interesting thing. So Dr. Ferris and I are writing a paper right now, so we're making good progress, right? So okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Howdy, my name's Hector Aruza. I'm a final semester undergrad industrial engineer, doing capstone with that guy, and I guess that guy. From Houston, but my family moved here 4 years ago at the start of college. Heavily involved in the SOFI project, technically involved in the HRV project, and soon to be involved in the Cobot project. Interesting thing, my sister had an internship with NASA and I escorted her to DC.
Hi everyone, my name is Alan Yin. I'm a master's student in ISIN. I'm graduating in December. From Houston, Texas. I'm the lead for the Vibrotactile project, and I'm also involved in the Cobot project. One interesting I did, I guess, I stick around campus and did research with Dr. Ferris, so that was interesting, fun. Yeah.
All right, so I'm Daniel Beltran. I'm a graduate student in electrical engineering, second semester. So I'm from city of Irving, Texas, which is near Dallas. And I was involved in the viral tactile study. And so, yeah, the interesting thing I did today or the summer was working on the hardware and software aspects of the study. Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Nandini Manikandan. I'm in my second semester in aerospace engineering. The project that I'm involved in is the co-op study, and the interesting thing that I did past summer was I went back home. So
Howdy, my name is Jackson. I'm a final semester master's student, and I am sticking around for a PhD. This summer, I worked down the road at KBSI, did some systems modeling, and interesting thing I did this summer, relearned how to enjoy reading books.
Shy.
Yeah, it's difficult. Yeah.
Howdy, my name is Christian Ornelis. I'm a senior undergraduate ICE student. This is my final semester, and I'm from Austin, Texas. The project involvement, I think I'll be working with virtual reality construction project. And one interesting thing was that I got to, I worked with Johnson Controls as my internship this past summer, and I got to learn how to use Power Automate. So that was pretty cool.
Howdy, I'm Gwillem Couch. Like Jackson, I am a master's student transitioning into PhD, and I've been working in a different lab on various data analytics material. And the interesting highlight of that was working on converting a nonlinear, a learning AI network into a conditional probability network, Houdini.
Howdy, my name is John Burke. I am a senior classification ISIN student. I've been working or kind of helping with the Sophie project with Dr. Ferris. And I hope to continue doing that and maybe go to get my master's or like doctorate or something once I become financially stable or something. But so pretty much study the rest of my life essentially. That's my big life goal plans. And I worked 2 jobs and had to take summer school this past summer, so I had nothing interesting happen. So yeah. Okay, thanks everybody. Fantastic. I appreciate the knowing a little bit more about you guys, but also that we zip through. Very good. All right, so when we do these lab meetings, and by the way, what I'm thinking, so last year we did this about every 2 weeks. I think that's probably a little too much. So I'm aiming for a big meeting like this, maybe once a month, okay? And then obviously the project meetings will happen weekly, multiple times a week, etc. But each time we get together like this, I like to make sure to give you guys a little bit of the background, the behind the scenes that I'm seeing a little bit. So I've got news, right? And so the scoop, right? So first of all, we lost another a star faculty over the summer. So Dr. Ranjana Mehta is now at University of Wisconsin. She is a superstar in this field. It is a huge loss that she's gone. We're getting over it though, and good news is we get to hire new people. And in fact, the Health and Human Systems Engineering HHSE area is like slated for a guaranteed 1 hire this year, and probably 2 and maybe 3 if we find the right people, which would be a pretty dramatic hiring, right? So right now we have in this area, so I mentioned this because for students who are like, hey, could I take what other classes can I take other than yours, Ferris, right? So we have 4 faculty in this area, myself, Dr. Curry Gregg, Dr. Sasangohar, and Dr. Judong Zhang, and Dr. Miriam Zahabi, right? So I guess 5, right? And so the 5 of us, any classes that we teach are the best classes. So if you're looking for those, obviously I can talk further about class stuff individually if you want, but I bring that up because when we bring in these candidates, and they're going to be people who are, some of them will be new graduates, some of them will be colleagues of Anderson's, for example. They'll be brand new graduates. Some of them will be mid-career, hopefully. We're actually looking to bring in some more senior people, meaning people who are full professors. I'm not a full professor. I'm an associate professor, which means I'm tenured, and I will apply for full professorship in the next year. I was going to mention about some of my efforts towards that. But regardless, there's kind of this, you kind of want to have a good balance of people at different stages in there because of the way that the university business runs. So right now I'm doing a little too much administratively for my title. And so if I'm a full professor, I don't know that will make anything easier as far as the administrative stuff, but it's at least we're at a good point and we have a lot of success this year. So it's a good time for me to do that. So we're hiring, yeah. Some of you are dealing with the stresses of trying to get a hold of advisors these days. Yes, that is especially difficult now because we also lost one of our star grad advisors and a couple of our star undergrad advisors. Part of this is you have a large department and a successful department. People get offers, they go elsewhere. It's a good thing, but obviously then we are churning and it's a turbulent time as we get new people in. So they don't have them yet. They're still interviewing, but especially for grad students, look for the new important person that you will want to be asking all of your class related questions, probably in addition to me, but they will know more than I will. So Victoria is working double and triple time now, and they'll get a few more people in there. So if you are having trouble, if you need advisors' attention, I can be part of your polite poking, but I just know how loaded they are, and so I'm going to be, we won't be frivolous with asking for their time, but if you need to get through, maybe I can help poke a little. Okay. Any questions about hiring stuff? Okay, good. Oh, I'm sorry. So this is why I brought it up. When we bring in these health and human systems engineering people, guaranteed they're going to spend a lot of time talking to people like me and you guys. And we want them to talk to you guys because we want them to see, oh, wow, we have awesome students here. And we have a lot of awesome students, which means like if they come here, there will still be lots of people, who could help with things. But also I want to know from you guys, hey, how did you feel about your meetings with these people? Because we're the ones who are going to be hiring. But we want people who are going to be good for you guys as much as for our departmental sort of structure. Good. So look for that. And I will probably do things like, hey, we're going to have a private lab demo meeting thing. But then also there will be like job talks. So when the people come and they give here's my 1-hour presentation for all of my research and what I want to do next. This is a great scene for just anybody who's research interested in this area to attend those. All right, good. Last one of the ISIN news. So in 1 week, one of my roles here, I know some of you know this, but one of my roles is I'm a track coordinator for our engineering honors program. And I've really liked doing that. And it's a good way to connect with awesome students. Several of you I met originally through that connection. And our big event of the year will be in a week. During the ISIN seminar time, so some of you are enrolled in, I know at least Srijani's enrolled in ISIN seminar, so you'll have to be there. But I wanted to make sure this is on everyone's radar who you could come for it. It's kind of just going to be like a free-for-all wild fest where all of the faculty go up and they get 3 minutes to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their research. It's going to be real hectic, but it's more fun when there's more people there because it is so hectic. Yeah. Yes, because we are that seminar. Because I took that seminar spot. Yeah, that's why. Oh, so you guys weren't told you have to come? I should have told Dr. Junis that he should make it required. Yeah. So anyway, well then I know you're available. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, very good. Yeah, and it's in the seminar room, so it'll just be there. Yeah. Okay, good. If you don't know what that is, there are videos. I can forward you the video from last year, but it's basically like 3-minute introductions. It's also where I want to talk a little bit in my like whatever 30 seconds I can about some of these projects as things that, you know, additional students may eventually down the line come to join us. All right. News about the lab, right. This is Dr. Rohde, Dr. Trey Rohde, who sat over there in the corner. You may have seen a picture of him and thought, why are there all these pictures of this guy? So Dr. Rohde is a usability experience engineer in Austin. I reached out to him a couple of weeks ago and said, hey, it's been a while. You know, how are you doing? How's it? He's got, you know, his wife, Erin, used to be one of the main grad advisors, and she's fantastic. And they spent 5 years in Australia working with Seeing Machines, which is an eye tracking company. And now he's back in Austin. I said, "That's great. Come on home." You know, he's a Aggie all levels. I met Trey when I came here in 2011. He was a 3rd-year undergrad and came to me and said, "I heard you're teaching this human factors. What's that?" And then the story goes from there. So yeah, he is Dr. Rohde, and he's a very interesting person, and also somebody who will be very interested to hear about what we're doing these days. But I also asked him, hey, maybe you can say a few things about the working world of a usability experience engineer, because that's a field that a lot of people are interested in, and traditionally human factors is kind of adjacent to that, but not blending fully. That's usually more of a computer science oriented job. But I thought, hey, give us your perspective, tell us about the life, and I think that's a good thing to hear about. So he will come. If not our next lab meeting, it'll be sometime in the early part of the fall is the plan. We have our website, which has been like a work in progress for a bit. Several of you have done a great job to respond to my requests for submitting pictures and data for that. I'm going to push a little harder on this now, given that it's the year when I'm going to be thinking about applying for a promotion. Part of that is people around the world will get asked to evaluate me, and they will say, well, let's check out his lab website. So I need to have one back. I need to have it going again. So I'm kind of mentioning that because I've had several of you kind of help start to build that and scope stuff out. And either I've missed kind of like, okay, here we're ready to go, or because it's entirely possible I missed it. But I'm renewed in my need to get that organized. So I'll work with everybody who's already kind of worked on material for that. But in particular, if anybody knows somebody who's really good with like, sure, I can whip up a web page with this stuff, I'd love to hear about it. So and I will, I'll pay someone to do a good job for it, basically. So good. So I'm just gonna put that out there now. If you have any good leads on that, if any of you in particular, hey, I took a HTML class over the summer and now I could do it. All right, let me know and I'll be glad to work with you towards that. Here is breaking news. I think I emailed about this. We have been waiting. So some of you don't know what this is yet. I will explain. But IRB, our Institutional Review Board, is the oversight for all of the research that we do with humans. So very important that we can't basically do the research unless we have them approved. The board reviews what we're going to do and approves it. There was a period in the summer where they shut down the IRB system because they're transitioning to a new website that will host all of the IRB business. This will eventually be a very good thing. It's called Huron. But oops, I have to keep this up for the camera. Sorry. Okay. Huron, but apparently there has been several snags in that transition to the point that it's delayed indefinitely. So they said we're still not online, and so we don't know when it will be online. It might be in the spring, but there's a lot of research that has to get done. So what's happening is the IRIS portal is now been reopened, but it's not getting a lot of advertising that it's reopened. So I know that it's reopened because of other projects with people who are on the IRB and tied closely, like department heads who work with the IRB closely. So touched on some of you, I know this, to like, okay, let's really quickly whip out some of our IRB applications, because suddenly there's going to be an email that says, okay, officially we are going back to the IRIS system. So all of the things that everybody's been waiting on, there's going to be a huge glut of submissions. So we want to kind of try to stay ahead of that rush hour of submissions, I think. So I know some of you are tracking this, but at least like in Morgan's case and in Srijani's case, we've got some really close to ready to go submissions, and so we'll be pushing those out. If you have not heard from me about this before, one of the very first things everybody needs to have done to do research with human subjects, that means officially being able to look at data that were collected by human subjects, you need to be trained in this, you know, basically doing research with social and behavioral, well, with human subjects, right? So this is the info, the link. I don't have a good way to do this where you can see both. The link there, if you don't know about this, I will send out, you know, all the slides afterwards. Go to that website. It will give you information about what you need to do. And there's a training program. It's free, but it does take several hours to do it right. And once you do it, you only need to do it once. It's good for 5 years. And you'll learn about all of the history of why we have to be careful with human subjects testing. And okay, and you just went through this, so you learned all about the Nazi research and the syphilis. Yep, okay. So, you know, it's really important, actually. I mean, you know, they're awful, but it's like, this is why we have these rules and regulations from, like, you know, atrocities. So check it out. I'll leave it at that. Any questions on my notes here so far? Okay, all right, check it out. So again, I'm going to send this out so you guys have it, but I wanted to give you kind of a ballpark for, hey, what can I do when I want to get a hold of Ferris, or if I want to organize meetings? And it'll look like this. So first of all, oh, this didn't turn out so well with Zoom. This is the times I am absolutely not available, and probably you can't even call or text me. It's not gonna get through. Okay, so my class times, we will have regular faculty meetings on Fridays, like enough that I'm just going to keep that, like, it's not every week, but it's going to be enough that I'm just going to keep that there. And then these 2 times when I play music with my friends, my neighbor Stan across the street, he's my country music outing, and then I have the weird music with the Space Lizards. And while I'm there, these are sacred to me now. So I used to just kind of say, like, you know, well, I don't know if I can have another prior commitment. For my mental health, these are the most important things that I do in the evenings, okay, every week. So I will not be available generally during those times. All right, next. I also have some physical therapy I'm working through, and I have high blood pressure. So in order to be a generally relatively longevity living person, I'm trying to keep exercise going. This is color-coded blue because I'll do this unless I have meetings scheduled, right? So you'll hear me like trying, like, resisting mornings, but I will schedule. I don't have to go to the gym, right? But I want to. So there you go. Similarly, on Mondays, my plan is to not come to campus if I can help it. It's always really stressful. I'll show you why. My weekends have been kind of sucked up. And so anything like get ready for the week, it's really nice if I don't have to get ready for the weekend and start everything Monday morning, if I have the time at home. And there will always be messy email stuff to clean up and stuff. So in general, I'm planning to work from home on Mondays. I am definitely available to meet over Zoom though, okay? So I'll be working all day real hard, but just not coming to campus those days. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there is. Yep. I will. The reason that, so in the past, I've just shared my Google Calendar. The problem is I have multiple calendars, like the Outlook one doesn't propagate to Google reliably. And so I will share them, but there's always times when people are like, oh, it looks like you were open, and because I don't update the whole Google Calendar. Yeah. You got it.
Oh, it's 9:30.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we can also print off this slide and post it right here too. Yep, good. All right. So one of the big things I need to do in order to have a competitive application for full professor is I need more publications on my own CV. We are working on them on several angles. Several of you are like, yeah, I know. But this is why I am starting to say I'm going to start carving out time that the default thing I'm doing is working on the various things we're writing. And I mean, we are writing, okay? Because anything I'm writing is with at least one of you, right? So these are the times where I'm hoping to dedicate to those, and obviously workable could be scheduled. On weekends, my son is he's on a traveling competitive soccer team, and my daughter is in the Nutcracker. So what that means is during the fall, my wife is with my daughter all the time, and I'm with my son all the time. And my son has games in Houston twice a weekend, like Saturday and Sunday a lot of times. So I will be usually on weekends in the car, getting cooked, super sweaty, in the car again, coming home, exhausted, and probably not checking my email all day if I can help it. Okay, so I have not reliably checking email, although on Sundays, if I don't have soccer, I can't really avoid that. I'm never checking my email at all on a Saturday this fall. Okay, so if you guys need me, you get to text me. This group gets to know my text, my number. It's on the board right there, 734. You can see it. It's right there. I'm not gonna put it on a website, but you guys know how to find it, right? And so yeah, and then I'm not texting isn't a very efficient communication method, but it is an efficient poking method. So hey, Ferris, can you check your email? Hector, you do a great job with that. You're hey, I sent you an email. It's perfect, right? So that helps a lot, and I can always go to my email. It's just that thing piles up, and it is my biggest stressor. So if it's the weekend, I don't want to look at it, right? Okay, good. Here we go. These green sections are when I would love to be spending time here, meeting with you guys, filling these availabilities with lab sorts of business. And so I do have office hours on Thursdays starting at 4 o'clock, and I'll be in my office, but I also am on Zoom. Great time to have like one-on-one conversations. If you're, not seeing me otherwise, I will always be there for office hours. And then here's what I have currently as current meetings. And so some of you are saying, yeah, I'll be in those meetings. But this is just my understanding for where we're at now. This will also grow as we, get into the semester. So there you go. So blue, you can get me. Green is my ideal times. I'd love, if you schedule, hey, can we have our Sophie project meeting? I'd say, I really hope you can be in one of these, right? And then that would be ideal. All right, any questions? So again, I'll send these slides out, but maybe we can print that, put it on the board, and I can send my Google Calendar, but again, that won't be complete. It'll just be most of it. Okay. Oh, good. We have a lab shared drive. So I just point this out now. We don't reliably use it for every project. Each project kind of has its own needs, so that's perfectly fine. I just want to point this out because I have here meeting minutes, and so when we do these meetings and I'm recording it, I will make sure that those are in there. And this is available to anybody with a TAMU login. So if you want to share it with friends too, hey, I went to this lab meeting. Do you want to watch the recording of it? Whatever. I don't know how fun that is, but it is it's designed for Texas A&M students, not just those in the lab. So we get to things like, okay, now we have data that we're passing back and forth. That shouldn't be available to everybody. Just we can control that within those in the project. So okay. Good. Now we're moving to project updates. So I've got slides to go with the projects. I've asked several people to step in and kind of do the introductions. I'd like to keep this going quickly, but also the important point is we're introducing these to you guys. So if you have questions, by all means, use the time, please, to answer them or to ask them. So we're going to introduce the topics. We're going to say, here's what we've been doing currently. We're going to say, here's the next steps in the near future. This is where things like we need more subjects for this study, and so maybe some of you want to ask your friends if they might be interested in a quick $10 or something, for what we're doing. Steps, yes, and then in particular, here's where we're struggling right now. That's part of research. It's why it's needs to be done by smart people, is because there will be problems, challenges that there isn't a clear solution to. That's why we get this many 15 really smart brains together to work on those sorts of things in these contexts. So, all right. Okay, first project. I will be the introducer. And I've got my contact info there. So this is, oh wow, this is really cool. In general, I wanted to give kind of, here's the person I can reach out to talk more about that. This is a kind of a different study because of the security aspect of it. And so only US people can work on it. I hate that. I'm sorry that that's the case, but it is the case. So I know that means several of you can't work on it, but in any case, let me explain it. So what we're doing here, this is the F-35 helmet, and there are sensor systems being introduced into the helmet to detect when pilots are getting fatigued to the point that they're falling asleep. It's video-based sensors, but we're also trying to get kind of, well, let's get people in here, let's get video of their eyes, and let's also collect a bunch of physiological data so we can see when they start to get sleepy, we can get the physiological indicators of that and match it up with what the video is showing. So what we're doing with this currently, we did one big major study last spring, and we have been analyzing it through the summer. We've got some upcoming report next week that we're trying to push out. So I know we're working on the write-up for that. To the extent that I could ask the SOFI team members to orient your priorities around this report, that will really help. I know that's mostly, I'm looking at you, Hector, for that and the methods. And I know Will couldn't be here, but he's, I know, contributing quite a bit with that also. But SOFI team in general, I know backers here, you're loosely aware of what's going on. If you can help with this write-up, you're plugged into what's happening. So, and what's the status on that? Because I haven't written anything for it yet. Okay. All right. Great. Okay, excellent. It doesn't have to be the best thing ever at this point because it's going to be an internal report to our colleagues. We will then also continue to refine and write something really, this is a really awesome chunk of results. So it's valuable to the scientific community. So when we publish this, it will be a relatively smooth sailing thing. So, and that'll happen this year at some point. So I know several of you are here, thinking about, oh, can I help with this project or whatever? It might suddenly turn into a big writing thing. But that, that's part of it. So what are we doing? We're analyzing currently electrooculogram data. That's the electrical signals from people's motor movement of the eye. So if they blink, and the nature of the blink we can assess that somewhat with these data. We also have a major effort here to get ready for the next data collection with this. We are going to now, in our first data collection, we had a very boring setup with this TV in a boring room. We're trying to make this more and more aviation-like, so we're going to go into the aerospace engineering building, has the engineering flight simulator, which is a aircraft cockpit, and we're designing our environment for that space. When we collect data, it means people have to stay up all night and then come in and do our very boring things and try to stay awake while they're extremely sleepy. So it's a challenge, but it's been really very successful so far on this project, and it's going to get even cooler when we have pictures in the flight sim there. So I wanted to show, because we're starting to do these results, I'm going to give you the highest level results that we have so far. We're still cranking these. But what we started to look at as our main metric, this is an example of the EOG signal, it's an electrical signal, right? And Hector has spent dozens, if not hundreds of hours now at this point. And Gil, of course, yes. Several people, yes, I know. And one of the things that we, using the literature, we looked into, well, what can we infer with this electrical signal of eye blinks, right? And one of the metrics that we zeroed in on, because it had been found in some other studies to be pretty sensitive, is this metric we call the PAVR. It stands for the positive, and positive is upstroke, the opening, is that right? It's the closing, excuse me. So the closing aspect of a blink, that's why it's positive instead of negative, and it's the ratio between the amplitude of the change in the signal during the blink and the velocity at which that blink occurs. So you can imagine if I start getting sleepy, I'm blinking more slowly and maybe from not as large of a, not as open of eyes, right? So we start to see this ratio of values as a very sensitive metric saying that's a fatigued person, that's someone who isn't fatigued. So, and two of the things you notice here, so here's our, let me point with this. An alert person, so this is like a histogram of these PAVR data for every blink that happens in a certain window of time, okay? So we stack them up and you get a whole, you get not a lot of variance and a fairly, a mean value here, around 4. That doesn't mean very much yet, I know, but what happens when people get drowsy is there's a positive shift in the mean, and we also see greater distribution in this histogram. So we identified, well, the mean and the standard deviation, the mean value and the spread effectively are both indicators of people getting fatigued. Right. So we crank these values. There's quite a bit that goes into getting from the raw EOG signal to, what are our PAVR metrics in these bins. But hot off the presses actually about a week ago. So just wanted to show you, this is what I call our sanity check. So we are effectively working with a metric that none of us knew about before we discovered what we're going to try to calculate. And so there's a whole lot of questions like, is this actually giving us what we expect or what? And what we see here is a general increasing pattern as you go from left to right. That's the experiment is going on. Each cycle is another roughly 15-minute interval. And what this shows is as we get later and later in the experiment, both the mean PAVR and the standard deviation seem to increase. So I say seem to because we haven't done the statistical testing yet. But in terms of our sanity check, I look at this and I say, we made up a metric, kind of, and we thought, it's essentially proposing a hypothesis. We expect this to increase, and then we plug it in and we see, oh, it does increase. Good, we're sane. That's our sanity check. So I wanted to share the sanity check with all of you to just kind of see that, hey, we're doing data work. This will continue. And that's it for that study. Might I ask Anderson to chat a little about his stuff? Thank you.
Thank you. Hello. Okay, so my name is Anderson, and I've been working on this personality and driving project for the past 3 years. So what we try to do is to find a correlation between introversion and extroversion personality and risky drive behaviors. So studies have shown that these, like especially extroversion personality, are related with risky behavior and other aspects like finance decisions or sports choice. So we want to see if the same pattern can be found in driving. And this is some of the data. So what we do is that we use the driving simulator. This is thing behind this fence. If you guys don't know, you can take a look after the meeting. Those are some of the data we have. So we can see. So this is one of the example, right? So we collect data, and then one of the data point will be how often do you use seatbelt, and then we can see that a huge chunk of extroverts don't really use seatbelt, so we consider that risky. And then we want to see if that's like a pattern across different behavior in a driving scenario. And then again, these are some of the data, and then all the participants that are driving super fast, they're all like extroverts. So yeah, and then so it seems like there's like a pattern, but also we need like statistical analysis to see how strong the correlation is, or if there's like a significant difference. So currently we are so the team. I had a small team per se, and Jacob was on the team, and he's not a PhD at Michigan. And right now it's me and Nikita. Nikita's been helping me with the data analysis, been really helpful. So we don't really have, I mean, the next step of this project is just writing the paper and then me writing my dissertation. So if any of you guys have major or minor in English literature, that'll be great. But other than that, I don't really need like some urgent help. But if anybody interested in this project, always come talk to me. I can tell you more. Or just because I know that some of you guys might, apply to grad school or something, just like how that process in general. So like how to choose your research interest aspect, you can always come talk to me. So I'm not in this lab a lot because, like I said, my experiment is pretty much done. But I'm at 4th floor, 4050. That's the grad student office. And the office is unlocked from, I think it's like 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So if you guys just want to have like some questions about the project or about the lab or anything, can always come talk to me. All right, this is it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anderson. That's great. Yeah, and our driving sim is right there, and it is going to become an available resource for the first time in part of a year, because Anderson's been real busy with it. And our driving sim is it's a skill that we could have somebody learn and go with it. So I know, Anderson, your scenario, for example, is really well designed and refined with a lot of different features that could be, the starting point for if people wanted to tinker with that and, build something new. Okay, thanks again, Anderson. Next study. So personality and driving, and Anderson's email right there. Come on. There we go. Srijani, can you give us the lowdown on this? I did some pictures for you. I know you didn't.
Sure. Do you want me to share my screen and share the slides?
Sure, if you'd like to share your screen. Here, I'll stop.
Yep. Okay. Just give me one quick share screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
What do you see?
I do see your screen. Well, yeah, I see it now. Array variability indices.
Okay. Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Srijani Mukherjee. I'm a second-year PhD student at Dr. Ferris's lab working on the heart rate variability indices. I work full-time at Bayer Crop Science as well. So I'll talk about the project I'm working on. So the concept of mental workload, as we all know, is like one of the most widely invoked concept in the human factor research and practices. So like high level of mental workload can be problematic at times because people have like less spare mental capacity to sort of like observe additional task elements while working on something else. Their focus is, not at the right place. So we are using heart rate variability to characterize that, and the concept of heart rate variability is generally referring to the fluctuation in the time intervals between consecutive heartbeats. So we all have seen this signal. These spiky points, those are like R points, and these IBI measures are typically obtained from the ECG, measuring the time between these 2 points, which we call R2R, and the raw data is used to calculate the heart rate variability metrics. So each value represents the time in milliseconds between these R peaks of the ECG signal in consecutive heartbeats. Why do we use HRV in research? So I can give you an example. Since this study was proposed to the Army, there was certain reason behind it, and I'll take their example here. Generally, like humans or soldiers in this case can be expected to show performance decrements when their mental workload is kind of combined. So at some point, they reach the cognitive red line. So even when the task performance is satisfactory by the soldiers, they experience like high level of mental workload and have very less spare capacity to handle like additional tasks and be aware of the surroundings. And for the nature of their work, it's very important for them to, you know, focus on their job and also be aware of their surroundings and like in general maintaining general situational awareness. So this can leave the crews kind of susceptible to performance decrements when, you know, unexpected events occur in their workspace. So to best kind of predict the future operational success of soldier interfacing technologies, it's kind of very important here to assess both a soldier's demonstrated performance and at the same time their experienced workload while they are interacting with those technologies. Oops, sorry. So we know about NASA TLX and Cooper Harper, all those subjective survey-based methods, which are like very close to the ground truth of experienced workload, but they are actually the feedback from the subject himself or herself. In that case, like there are a number of benefits if we can supplement that kind of assessment by additionally supporting collecting the physiological data while the tasks are performed. Because when the tasks are performed and if we ask them to give the, you know, subjective workload assessment feedback, it's like kind of it disrupts the ongoing task performance. So to workload metrics that kind of are derived from physiological data, they can represent the real-time window into workload dynamics without disrupting the ongoing task performance. And these physiological data, you know, can be used, usually be like collected relatively inobtrusively, like we don't have to get into their body and find out what's happening. What research question I'm trying to answer here with this research is like, what type of heart rate variability indices is the most sensitive to the physiological data collected like during different task-based workload, like when you are performing different tasks and when you are combining those tasks, how the heart rate variability indices are kind of changing based on those cognitive work, task-imposed cognitive workload. There are existing metrics, SDN, and they are all like calculated using the standard deviation between interbeat intervals for SDN, and for RMSSD, as the name suggests, is root mean square of successive differences. And then there is PNN50, which is very useful, and it's defined as a percentage of heartbeats that is measured over a given time window. So in our case, we have been using 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and 120 seconds is 2 minutes, and then 300 seconds, that's 5 minutes. So our goal is to see which one is the most sensitive, and if we can, you know, find out another metrics, then we can do the exploration as well. And the preliminary study we had done in summer was like 150 hours of data, which we collected. Like there were 3 participants who collected all these data, and we used this bioharness equipment, Zephyr bioharness 3, and then we had used the subjective workload annotation, the Cooper-Harper scale. This is the flow chart. I'll not go into detail, but this is based, like this actually helps the participants to rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 10 on their current level of visual workload, auditory workload, cognitive workload, and physical workload. So this was the annotation technique we had used in summer. Like there are notes over there, and VACP, visual, auditory, cognitive, and physical load on Cooper-Harper scale, and how we map them with the timestamp and time load, mental effort load, and psychological load. And then we had done some data processing using R and Python to kind of map the annotation to all the matrices, and then we use the R script to calculate these matrices, and then Python script to normalize the VACP score. The R2R data were like first extracted from the bioharness module, and then a Python script was used to create timestamps. R script was developed to process the timestamp data, and then we calculated raw indices such as SDNN, RMSSD, PNN50. So with using those indexes, we found out, like we plotted them and we saw that a normalized version of SDA or standard deviation of averaged NN intervals, that metric seemed to offer the best fit with subjectively related workload experience. But our study was pretty noisy. There was noisiness of cardiovascular data. The multifactorial influences on those data, like, there were inter-individual differences, how we collected those data, how not everyone was trained to collect them properly. So we wanted to go for a systematic, properly structured data collection method. So we are going to submit the IRB, the on IRIS TAMU website. We are going to submit the proper approval application and all that. And we are really looking forward to do this time using MATB. So it's like a dynamic and complex task environment for evaluating human cognitive and psychomotor performance. And it's like a computer-based video game where there will be like different kind of tasks, and this is like how the GUI looks like. And then there will be realistic operational scenarios, like, you are flying a plane, you are a pilot, you need to change fuel tanks and all that stuff. So those kind of various tasks will be given to the participants. And then there will be we will be using NASA TLX, as that is kind of embedded into the MAT B2. So there I'll go through the steps so that you understand the nature of the study that we are going to perform here. So upon arrival, the participants will be like asked to read through and sign the consent form, and then we'll give them a questionnaire to find out like what was their age, gender, are they students or not, their experiences of interacting with video games, console and joysticks before. And then they will complete like a proper 5 minutes physiological baselining procedure, like they'll take rest and there will be some kind of video going on that relaxes their nerves, and then there will be a physiological baseline measurement. And after that, they will be introduced to MATB2 software, and there will be a short training of 10 minutes. Then they will kind of wear the bioharness and sit for different kind of task, and the bioharness will be done by them. Then participants will complete 3 10-minute experimental sessions in which the difficulties will be like low workload, medium workload, and high workload sessions. The subtasks will be system monitoring, communication, resource management, task, different kind of tasks like tracking task and all that. Will, Hector, Leon, Gil, all my lab mates, they have like developed these MATB2 task sessions based on the difficulty levels after like multiple iterations of trial sessions that they went through. And then they kind of developed this whole study, experiment, task-based experiment. So after each session is complete, they will fill out the NASA TLX subjective workload assessment. And from there, we will find out like how the HRV is changing based on task-based workload. So this is our goal in this fall, to have a proper structured study experiment done, and based on that, this is going to contribute to my PhD thesis also, and we'll definitely write some articles on that. If you guys are interested to come and take part in this, I'll welcome you in our lab. I know you can also email Dr. Ferris, but you can contact me because my calendar is not as colorful as Dr. Ferris. So I can get back to you sooner than him mostly. So yeah, if you are interested to know more and know details about the study and how you can sort of get involved, I'll be here to answer your questions. I work remotely because I'm a full-time person in the industry as well. So I don't go to the lab often. I go for the studies and everything. So if you can email me, that's the fastest I can respond you to.
Thank you, Srijani. That's great. Any questions for Srijani? So you're right, Sri. I think you sent me that email. So we're on the cusp of submitting that IRB, right?
Yes, I have done that last night.
Oh, right. Way to go. Right. So we are, yeah, we're not gonna necessarily be waiting for that IRB before we get going on this. I mean, we are for the official data collection, but we are, I feel like we're still in the work out the bugs pilot phases. It sounded like we've got, well, at least Will, I know I'm pointing at you, you haven't heard this yet. But what I had asked Srijani in our last meeting was, I think we ought to have at least 3 MAP-B scenarios, low workload, lowest, highest, and something in between. Yeah. And that where it is in between isn't as important, that it's somewhere clearly between the two, so that we can see if there's a trend. So it's one thing to say the low workload gave us low workload values, the high gave us high, but if we're trying to find which one is the best fit of all these metrics, I'd like to have a little more up there. So, and Will, you have the experience with the design and MAP-B, or with writing the code in MAP-B, but I know we probably could use some more help in the MAP-B programming world too. So we can, communicating with Srijani and yeah, also myself, if that's an interest of some people. Thank you. Thanks again, Srijani. Good job. Holy cow, we are at 4 o'clock. Okay, so let me just continue, but I know if people have to go, because this was, I guess, first meeting of the year, and there's no way it'll be time. So yep, there's that one. I'll just keep going, but again, the hope is they're pretty fast here. Alan, would you like to take over here? So I'll give you this. I'm gonna just plug in over here. Hey Clay, nice to see you. Yeah, thanks for coming.
Hey, I'm here to talk about the electro and vibrotype project. That's fine. So a little overview of this project. We're studying, it's in the construction settings. We're studying how to give feedback mechanism to convey hazards, particularly hazards underground, like pipelines, utility lines. We have 2 different teams working on this. The team in this lab, we are the vibrotactile team. We're working on haptic vibration feedbacks, and then there's another team at the construction science department who's working on the electrotactile part, which is basically the simulation with like electrodes. Yeah, so we've actually been working a lot on this project over the summer. So far, we are currently in the process of running our first experiment. This experiment, we investigate the different vibrational patterns in conveying hazard and conveying proximity. So there are 2 different tasks. There's a primary task that you basically move a cursor on a joystick, try to hit some targets and avoid obstacles. That's meant to kind of simulate the construction settings, or really rough simulation. But we also have a secondary task on the side that is a spatial visual rotation task that are meant to simulate the spatial visual workload that a typical excavator operator goes through. So we're like I said, we're running this test right now. The goal is to get at least 24 participants, and we have like 14 so far. but from the data we have so far, we noticed that the performance data we collected, that there definitely shows an advantage of having vibration patterns and conveying proximity. We see actually like a fairly big jump in performance numbers, and then majority of the participants did prefer the tactile feedback, helping them completing the test better. But some of them did express that it is kind of difficult to differentiate between the different patterns. And then a last thing we found so far is that when we're designing experiments, we were expecting that the stronger the vibration, the better it will be, right? Because the operator would notice it better. But actually, a lot of people have been telling us what the strongest setting we had was too strong and was providing distractions and causing distress. So that is also a very interesting conclusion we've gotten so far. So for the construction science team, they are working more on like the VR simulation of construction sites. So our team's been over in their lab a couple of times, helping them test out their settings. They have two teams working on different environments. I think one of them do like urban construction settings, and the other one does things on the moon. And then actually just last week, we came there. They have their electrotactile system ready to go. That's like a picture of us testing it. So eventually we are going to merge the two teams together. Yeah, we're gonna merge the two teams together. So basically, we're going to integrate our vibration system into their VR settings, and they're going to give us their electrotactile system and try to work it on our system. So on that part, we're going to first off with integration of the different systems. We're gonna probably need some help from people with background in electronics. Right now we have our electronics expert Daniel here, but I'd imagine it will probably get a little complicated, and we could use more help on that end. And then the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna run a comparison study between the vibrotactile and the electrotactile, and basically see which scheme is the superior one conveying hazards. So that's gonna need some help with like just overall general human factors experience, especially with the experiment design and stuff like that. And yeah, we also need to finish the data collection with the current vibrotactile experiment we have now. So we need more participants if anybody's interested in participating.
I was gonna recommend we resend the same email to the Ferris Lab list.
Yeah.
All the info is there, and then that way, and what the point is, basically, people respond to Alan. That it's you in the email.
Yeah.
So if you're already interested, you can just send out an email. But otherwise, we'll send out the more information, the official recruiting one, and go ahead and forward it to friends. Like at this point, we are approved. As long as the email is the way that it reaches somebody, anybody can get it. So it doesn't even have. I don't think it has to be TAMU people. I think it can be anybody who's 18. Is that right?
So okay, so on the consent form, we didn't say anything about TAMU people, but I think on the RV application, like the experiment protocol and explaining the study, I think we did mention somewhere we are recruiting TAMU people. So I'm not sure.
I think it's inclusion and exclusion criteria is the only thing we have to think about.
Okay, then we should be fine.
I think it's just it's what it says in the email.
Okay. Right? Yeah, the email doesn't mention that though. Yeah. So okay. Yeah. So go ahead and just recruit friends,
family, whatever. Yeah. That's good.
Okay. Good. All right. Yeah, and I think that's so. If you can just email me if you want, if you're interested. But also you can keep if you want to know more information about the study. I have a recruitment email with like all the basic informations. You can read that and then just reply to the email. Say, hey, Alan, I'm interested, and I can just go ahead and start schedule you guys for the conducting the experiment. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. Yep, great. All right, next, Morgan, can you talk about your stuff? Yeah, thank you. So next week when we do the Meet the ISINs thing, I'm really trying to be strict about a 3-minute presentation. It is going to be hard.
Sure.
Because I'm not cutting people off
because we're not that strict now, but I'm gonna be strict next week and I'm gonna be cutting off like the department head.
I was like quietly back there. I had a meeting that's supposed to start 10 minutes ago. I was like, moving step 3, like 3 Pacific. And I was just like pushing things back as it was going on. Hi, Morgan. I'm running the virtual reality cyber sickness study. This is actually becoming a collection of small studies that is pretty early on right now. We're in the process of getting the IRB through. It went on hold for a while because of the transition to Huron, but then they're like, oh, JK, we're going back to Iris. So I have Iris up on one of my monitors, and I'm going to try to get that in preferably this weekend is my goal. And most of the writing's already done. It's really just like making sure that everything's consistent. So what the cyber sickness study is it's looking at the causes and onset reasons of cyber sickness based off locomotion in virtual reality. So locomotion, you might not be familiar with. It is the idea of pressing a button and your character moves in virtual space while you yourself are not moving. So if you're moving physically and it perfectly matches you, that's just motion. But locomotion is actually having your character move and not yourself. So we have a study in which this is actually a virtual environment I built, very simple, and we have the participants running around and collecting different objects off all of these little points, and they have to bring them back to the center here and then stack a pyramid. Just a simple task to run through that should take a couple minutes. And we'll be comparing different locomotion styles and how they cause different cyber sickness onset rates. Including there's basically a theory of your understanding of the motion you're about to go through and how that brings on cyber sickness is really the root of the first study we're doing. We also recently got on a call with Virtuix Omni, which is a company based in Austin that makes these omnidirectional treadmills. You might, if you've seen like Ready Player One or anything like that, you've seen some variations on this. And they actually ran into their head hardware engineer at a board game event in Austin. And they actually offered to send us one of these units in October. And so as a follow-on study to the one we're doing right now, this environment, we're going to get one of these here in the lab and be able to run these through. So whichever the present plan is, whichever locomotion style we find is the most efficient in VR, in the first study, we will use to compare against the locomotion system brought along by the omnidirectional treadmill, and then be able to show they're hoping, because they have been anecdotally saying for a long time that omnidirectional treadmills reduce cyber sickness. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, if anyone wants to be involved, M5 at 10. So.
Thank you very much, Morgan. Awesome. Yes. All right. We're getting close to the end, gang. Thanks again, Morgan. I think I'm the last talker, so I'll be fast. Come on. Good. So you heard us say this one, the rubber hand. This is brand new, hot off the press, funded as of last Friday. We got the email from NSF. So this is happening, and this is going to start to be a more and more exciting fanfare thing because there's several interesting players at A&M working on this with us. So I'm calling it the rubber hand study because we are going to make use of the rubber hand illusion. If you don't know what this is, please Google it and watch any of the videos on it. It's pretty interesting. The idea is that we can train a human, any of us, yourselves included, to start to have sensation that's linked to an inanimate object, or in this case, a rubber hand, right? So literally a fake hand. This person is looking at the rubber hand and the stimulation on that rubber hand while their real hand is being tactile stimulation, and that causes this perceptual linkage with the rubber hand. So there's all kinds of things you can do with that then, like to mess with people, but the idea that we're doing here is we will use this illusion as one of the models for solving the problem of telehealth, where a doctor, if I call my doctor on Zoom, I can tell her about all my blood pressure problems and everything. But one of the main things that a doctor does when you meet them in person is the physical examination, which is really important for detecting a lot of early onset kind of disease.
And head and neck palpation in particular was identified as like, this is something that is completely lost now in the world of telehealth, but it is a problem that we lost it. So we're going to try to find a way where through, this is a physician, so this is like a cardiac expert in Houston, for example, and this is a patient in the oil fields of West Texas, you know, and they don't want to drive whatever 15 hours to see their specialist. So they call them over Zoom, and a local nurse is able to come out and do the palpation on the patient, the physical examination. And this nurse would be wearing sensors in these gloves that then transmit some of the haptic sensations to the physician. So we're trying to build something where it's kind of, you know, rubber hand is one thing. I started to say this is sort of like a puppeteer thing. It's like, you know, the puppeteer in a marionette. You're effectively trying to guide, you know, what this person is doing and make it feel like this doctor is the one physically in contact, like it would like with the rubber hand. So that's as much as I'm going to talk about this now because we're just kicking it off. Some of you have heard us, you know, talk about this, go to meetings and things. We are going to have meetings that are with a larger group and people in mechanical engineering and in other departments. And those will be on Mondays, starting next week, I believe. So look for more on that. I will recruit people to say, I'm really interested in that and I would like to help with that. But also there isn't too much to do quite yet. So I'll let you know when things are also starting to heat up on that too. All right, rubber hand, that's it. And then do we have one more? I think so. Yeah, cobots. Okay, so I think this is my last one. It is. So to end on this one, because this is also one where we have some very soon needs for, well, there's going to be a lot of activity happening with this in the near future. This study involves a group out at Relis campus, the facility for advanced manufacturing there. And we have a couple of robots out there called, they're called cobots, collaborative robots, designed to work alongside humans. I like to give the example of like the maybe not too distant future where there are surgeons that say, okay, I need the scalpel, and then a robot hands it to them, or even the surgeon just says, or doesn't say anything, just the cobot is so tuned into the surgery, it knows what tool to give at what time. So we're not that far from this sort of an assistant. There's the AI and the physical functionality of these cobots. Nandini is looking at human robot interaction questions. And so there's some cool topics that I know we are just developing. That's my point here. There are research questions to be matured that we're just working on there. For the near future, we need to conduct a human study of a manufacturing assembly task. So all the junk there, that's not junk, but the pieces that are on that table there are the pieces from this manual assembly that we are working toward, and we are going to be running data collections where people build those things with their hands and then build those things with their hands, but also the cobot is helping in various ways. So I know we're going to be going out to that facility at some point in the next week. I know we didn't talk about that yet, but this would be a good time to kind of say, hey, I'm real interested in maybe joining for that. Probably, according to my schedule, it'll be something like a Wednesday or a Friday sort of thing. And probably Wednesday, because Friday is the Meet the ISIS thing. I don't know if that works for you. Yeah. But we'll go out there. And I know several of you have been tied to this and kind of I brought you along to, for your interest's sake, but it's now time to say, we're going to need people who can help us do these data collections, which will require like being out at that campus for like an 8-hour day. While somebody else comes and is participating in it. So we will have needs for that. If you happen to have a day in your schedule that is relatively open and you might like to participate and help with this, there are funds to help with this project as well. Okay, that's it. Cobot project. The reason it's called Radar is that's the broader project, which one of the R's is robots. So I would say the Cobot project. That's it. So I will, we've recorded this. I will post these slides in the shared folder. I'll also just email them out to the lab list. You can share them with other people that might be interested, invite others to come to the next all lab meeting. which I suspect, again, the plan is roughly once a month, and I'll just tentatively say, 4 weeks from now is the 22nd. We can aim for that. All right, so that's it. Thanks, everybody. I can open the floor for any questions, but also I know we're past time. So if people got to run, they can run. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, gang. All right, very good. Yeah, hey, well. So, yeah.